What is going on, streamers? Today we are talking about some tips that will help you grow your YouTube channel, as well as some production tips. And I'm also going to be doing a Q&A session answering your questions that you have about live streaming to YouTube. So if you are watching this on the replay, I do encourage you to skip through this content and just kind of dig in a little bit, because during that Q&A period, we're going to have a lot of really good information that typically comes out of those. And in addition to that, you can also find details in terms of, the specific things that we are talking about during this stream today that will help you get better performance on YouTube and just have better streams all the way around. So make sure that you skip around. For those of you that are live, what is going on? I hope everybody is doing fantastic. So like I mentioned, today we are going to be talking about different things that you can do to grow your YouTube channel using live streaming. And we are also going to be talking about some general production tips as well that just kind of fixes some of the problems that I see a lot of the mistakes that I see a lot of live streamers making when it comes to the production of their live stream. So the very first thing that we are going to be talking about, and I do want to remind you that, if you're here right now, and I'm going to be saying this, a few times as more people, come into the stream as we're going here. But if you are here right now, if you have a question about anything it is that, I mentioned during the stream, make sure that you write it down and you save it for the Q&A portion of the stream here in just a little bit. So the very first thing is that I wanted to make sure to bring to your attention and kind of put this up here at the very front is that when it comes to live streaming on YouTube, or it just comes to, getting results on YouTube at all, when it comes to live streaming specifically, a lot of us will, or a lot of content creators will rely specifically on the live streams, and they won't do anything else because they don't have time to make content. Maybe they have school, maybe they have, a job, maybe they have businesses to run, things like that. And because of that, it makes it to where it's difficult, to where it's like, hey, I'm doing live streams because I don't have the time to do some of these other things. Well, the very first thing that I want to bring to your attention is right now, there is an unprecedented opportunity on YouTube using short form content. So if you are if you're live streaming to YouTube, especially if you're using StreamYard, then when you have those recordings that you're using in the background, or if you're not a StreamYard user, if you're doing this with something else in terms of, recording and archiving your streams, what you can do is you can actually take that content and you can chop up little tidbits from your live streams, and you can put out short form content where you have content going out to not just YouTube, but you have content going out to TikTok, to Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, Clapper, any place that has, vertical content, including YouTube Shorts. Now, the big win with this is, one, it helps you distribute your brand or, expand your brand across, all these different platforms. But on YouTube specifically, because that's usually what I talk about when I come on the StreamYard channel here, but YouTube specifically, right now, that unprecedented opportunity is like, if you're getting started with all of this stuff, with YouTube Shorts, you only have to be able to capture somebody's attention when they slide up in the feed, right? In the Shorts feed. It's not something where you have to design thumbnails for or anything like that. You just write the title to the best of your ability, and then you just sample out a piece of, really good content, a little tidbit that's under 60 seconds, and you upload it to YouTube as a short, as a supplemental piece of content. So let's say, for example, you stream to your YouTube channel 1, 2, 3, 4 times a week. Well, you can also put up YouTube Shorts a couple of times per week if you would like to. Now, inside of StreamYard, they have a feature where you can just sample out shorts directly. So you can sample out vertical content. Now, as of this moment in time, that content is locked into, the normal, 16:9 ratio, but they've added the black bars on top and bottom. So you would use that for like captions or something like that to fill that space when you're uploading it to these platforms. And with that, there's actually an app, I think it's CapCut, that will actually burn captions right into the videos for you. And there's another one that's called Captions that will do the same thing. So you can take the content that you pull down from your StreamYard account or from, anything that you're using for shorts, and then you can upload it into one of those, add the captions to it to fill some of that black space, and then you can upload it as a YouTube short, and then that gives you additional content. Now, the reason I'm talking, hey, what's up, Jerry? The reason I'm talking about, shorts when it comes to live streaming, you're thinking like, wait, I'm live streaming, why is he talking about YouTube Shorts? Is when it comes to YouTube Shorts, YouTube Shorts are currently designed to get you in front of new viewers, right? So what you do is when you're sampling out the shorts or some of the content from your previous live streams and you're making that into a short, it gives you the opportunity to not have to make additional content. You just have to take the little bit of time that it takes to sample it out. And you can do that very quickly. And then you can upload it to, YouTube Shorts. And then that gives you the opportunity to earn subscribers there. Now you can actually monetize YouTube Shorts as well. So you can use it to add to your bottom line. And most importantly, you can get yourself in front of new people that might not know about you or your live streams or your brand or what it is that you're trying to do on the platform yet. So because of that, you can leverage Shorts as a way to grow without having to actually produce new content, because you're just sampling some of the tidbits out of the content that you're already creating. So this applies to everybody. So if you're, sharing educational information, you can do this. Even if you're gaming, when you have highlights in your game, sample out little parts of those and upload those as shorts as well. If you're only, doing live streams around your game, and that also gives you the opportunity to, get more content out there and to have the chance for you to have people subscribing and getting ad, views and all of that on your YouTube Shorts. So make sure that you are considering that you do have, YouTube Shorts as part of what it is that you're doing, if you're not uploading additional content already to support what it is that you're doing with your live streams. Because one of the awesome things about YouTube Shorts is YouTube is currently working on building the bridges between short form and long-term content as well. So what that means is, when it comes to the recommendation system of YouTube, in the past, they didn't have the connection. So if somebody watched one of your shorts, then YouTube wouldn't recommend your long form content or your live streams, because it didn't make that connection in terms of the viewers watching this. So let's recommend them this. Now they've opened up a lane in that bridge, and they've started, improving those recommendations to where if the system detects people are enjoying your shorts, then it will take them, into the live streams. Now, in addition to this, right, you have additional things. So you can go through the process of, downloading your live stream content, sampling out, a short, and then uploading that short to YouTube and taking that route. Or you can also, if you're live streaming natively to YouTube, in terms of you're using StreamYard, or, you're getting your live streams onto YouTube, then in that particular case, YouTube has a feature built in where you can sample out shorts in 15 seconds or 60 seconds or less, somewhere in between on all of those. And you can have it to where you sample it out, and it will take it from YouTube, and then it'll make a short with it. And the bonus of doing it that way is it also creates a direct link into the long form content right there on the screen that people can click on. So you can do it the manual way, where you're uploading it as a, as a standalone video, or if you sample it out the way that I'm talking about, then you'll have a direct link linking back into your replays. So then what you're doing in that case is you are driving people in, and they're actually getting a taste. They're enjoying that short, right? Because it's sampled from your live stream and it's impactful to them in some way. And then they click on your the link that takes you straight through. They end up experiencing your content. And then if they end up subscribing or enjoying that content, then you're increasing the likelihood of YouTube recommending your live streams to them when you go live or when you schedule your streams. So because of that, when it comes to YouTube Shorts, if you are live streaming, shorts is something that you can tap into as a way to, without producing more content, as a way to, reach more people with what it is that you're doing. And the big win when it comes to actually downloading your files and then, putting them up that way is you can also just spread everything out to all the other platforms, have links in your bio that drive everybody back to your YouTube channel. And then, people can, come over and participate there for the people that choose to do so. So for everybody joining us right now, what we're doing is we are talking about leveraging your live streams to grow your YouTube channel and your presence on YouTube. And we're also going to be talking about some general production tips that fix a lot of mistakes that live streamers commonly make, especially when they're first getting started. We're going to be doing a live Q&A as well, or question and answer session. So if you do have a question about anything that I talk about here, make sure that you write it down. And then once we get to that part, then you'll just drop it in the chat once we get there. Next up is you also want to make sure when you're live streaming that you're thinking of the replay, because as a live streamer, and I mentioned this in almost every piece of content that I put out about live streaming, the reason that you want to think about the replay is because in a lot of cases, you'll get a lot more views on the replay than you will on the actual live experience. So when you are live streaming and you're doing it for the sake of growth, not just like nurturing the community or not just making that connection, but when you're like, hey, I'm live streaming and I'm also wanting to use this for growth, then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are thinking about the replay. replay and the experience that people are going to have when they're coming into your live stream on the replay. So for example, if the live stream starts and they have, all of this stuff that they have to go through with you doing like shout outs and all these things that don't really make a good replay experience, then people are going to abandon that content. They're going to go watch something else. However, if you structure everything for the sake of capitalizing on that replay view, then in that particular case, you're designing your live stream so that it's cool on the live experience for the people that are there, but then you're also making it good for the people that are coming in on the replay. Okay, so make sure that you are thinking about that replay experience. And one tip that I also like to share when I mention that is if you are somebody that you're like, hey, it's part of my thing. I want to welcome people as they're coming in. And I have these messages that I want to get out when my stream starts, things like that. In that particular case, what you can do is you can create a cut point in your content. This can be, something structurally that you do, but you put all that stuff at the beginning. And then before you start your actual content, you say, for those of you that are just joining us, pause for just a second. Today we're talking about XYZ, or today we're trying to accomplish XYZ, or I'm going to be showing you XYZ. And then you start getting into the actual content itself. And then when you go and you cut that front part off on the replay, you have a clear cut point. So then the people on the replay will be able to come in, and for them, it will start as today we're talking about, or today I'm showing, or today this is what we're trying to accomplish, right? So then it feels more like a piece of video on demand content. So when you're doing your replays, make sure that you're thinking about that. In addition to that, and this is a huge mistake that I see a lot of live streamers make sure that you are also designing unique titles for your live streams. Make sure that the titles that you're writing for your live streams, you got to make sure that instead of putting, Tuesday's live stream or your channel name and then live stream, make sure that you write an actual title that will help you. If you're trying to grow the channel, make sure that you're using an actual title that will help the people that you're trying to reach with your content, that will help them identify that your content is about something that they might care about, and try to make it compelling if you can. In addition to that, you also want to make sure that your thumbnails are also original. So it's really easy, and I do this sometimes too. It's really easy to just use the same thumbnail like over and over, and that like represents your live stream. So then people, like in our brains, it's like, oh, when people see that, then that tells them that I'm live. But in reality, on YouTube, they actually put a little live icon over your, over your thumbnail anyway, so people know it's live. Plus, for the people that the system is predicting that are the most likely to enjoy your content, what happens there is YouTube will be recommending it and prioritizing it for those viewers anyway. So they're going to be suggesting it next to other pieces of content that they're currently watching. They're going to be showing it on their homepage or in the top of their mobile feed. If they're searching for something related to the topic that you're talking about, YouTube's going to show your live stream there. So when it comes to your live streams, you want to make sure that they stand out with unique thumbnails, again, with something that would attract or help the viewer recognize that it's about something that they care about, right? So for example, a lot of people will use templates to where it'll be like, hey, this is the picture of the person, and this is a picture of maybe their guest, and then they have, some text down there, maybe some logo branding or something like that. But a thumbnail like that, it doesn't tell the viewer anything, or the potential viewer anything. So you want to make sure that you're just using an image, or if you want to put yourself in it, that's fine, but put yourself in it and then put an image that will help the people that you're trying to reach understand, again, that it's something that they might be interested in based on, other, content that they're watching. So really easy way to do this, if you're not, well-versed in graphic software or anything like that, is if you are talking about something that you can demonstrate visually through a photograph or, through an icon or something like that, then in that case, use that kind of stuff in your thumbnails to help people be able to identify it. So for me, for example, because I teach people how to thrive on YouTube, in my case, I'll use like stat screenshots, and I'll use imagery that's related to YouTube. I'll use the little YouTube logo, those sorts of things, as a way to help people identify that my content is about something they care about, even if they don't know who I am. So that way it removes that barrier of, oh, I have to know who this person is to even make this content make sense to me in the first place, right? So it just makes everything a lot more accessible for new people, and that will help you grow the channel while you're live and help you bring new people in that way, but also on the replay if you're doing that same thing on the replay. You also want to make sure that you are optimizing your topics and the language in your titles around the most broad audience within your niche. So it's really easy. This is another one to where it's really easy for us as live streamers to be like, hey, let's just, talk about this like one, particular thing. But you also want to make sure that you're thinking that within the audience that you're trying to reach, you can go narrow within that audience or you can go broad. So if you are trying to have more people participate while you're live, then in that particular case, try to make those as broad as you can within your space. And that still leaves you open to talk about other things, but just make sure that you are leaving the topic of the live stream because people are coming and going during the whole stream, right? So you want to make sure that you're thinking topically, like, okay, how can I package this in terms of title and thumbnail in a way to where the people who are interested in the types of things that I'm talking about or showing with my content, to where they'll click on it based on their interests. And then once they come into it, then of course I'm giving them content based on that. But I can also, because it's a live stream, I can talk about other things if I choose to, right? So just focus the packaging in terms of your thumbnail and your title on the most broad subjects within your niche that you possibly can, or just the most broad things that the people you're trying to reach would care about. You also, as long as you have the feature enabled, you also want to make sure that you are using your trailer option to promote your live streams. The trailers, and if you clicked on this live stream and you actually hit the remind button for the stream that you're watching right now, one of the things that you noticed is when you clicked on that, when you first saw the thumbnail and title on YouTube and you clicked on it, you actually got a video. And that video is me saying, hey, this is, the types of things that we talked about and the reason that you should come hang out in this stream. And by doing that, it gives you the opportunity to essentially make a commercial for your live stream, even if it's just you talking to the people that you're wanting to come into the stream. It's you essentially just making a commercial for people to come and hang out, but you're giving them more context. Because when you are just using your thumbnail and you're just using the title, the only context your potential viewer has is, of course, that thumbnail and title. But when you level it up and you go through, the handful of minutes that it takes to make just a really quick video of you, just talking to the camera and telling people what they're going to get for hanging out in your live streams, then in that particular case, you get to give them more context and explain, it's kind of like a sales tool, right? So it's like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're talking about. And this is how it's going to benefit you or why you might be interested in it. So make sure that you are using that trailer function in order to, just express the value that you are going to be bringing with your live stream to help people make that choice when you are scheduling and promoting your streams. So this applies if you're going to be streaming an hour from now, or if this is a stream that you are going to be doing a week from now, but you're promoting, that video gives you just a bigger opportunity to make that promotion a lot more impactful. So make sure that you're using that. And the place where you find this, if you are a StreamYard user, if you're somebody that currently does everything in StreamYard, but you don't go into YouTube to change anything, in order to use the trailer feature, what you'll want to do is you'll actually need to log into YouTube, and then you can click on the create option at the top, and then you can click into your live stream there. Actually, sorry, it's not there. Go into your contents. Actually, I think you can do it there too. The way that I get there is I go into my content, and then once I'm in my content, I click on the live tab, and then I'll have the scheduled stream, right up to the top there. Click into it there, and then from there, you go into your customization settings. In your customization settings, then you have the option down at the bottom of those to add a trailer or add a redirect. And just a quick, side note for you in terms of the redirect. So when it comes to that, if you are in like a network of sorts, in terms of like you have some buddies and everybody's talking about, the same things or showing the same things, or if you're a gamer and, you have your squad that you play with, things like that. If people are streaming at different times and there's a way that you are, like their stream is going to start when yours finishes and things like that, or maybe they're going to be streaming when you're done, YouTube gives us this option now to where we can redirect viewers. So at the end of my streams, one of the things that I do as an example, when my brother and Daniel are streaming here on the StreamYard channel, is my brother D, is I will redirect my live stream that I do on Saturday, so that when I finish my live stream, if it's before their stream or during their stream, then in that particular case, the second my stream ends, YouTube by default drops them right into that stream. So if you have other people that talk about similar things that you're, friends with, that you network with, or if you have multiple channels or anything like that, you can use that feature as a way to, kind of send people in between channels and introduce people to other channels and other content creators that they might not have had the opportunity to reach. But that can also be reciprocated, and that can come back to you as well. Next up is when it comes to YouTube, you want to make sure that you are using all of the features. So one thing that I do, when it comes to, just what I do for a living is, I spend tons of time analyzing YouTube videos, analyzing YouTube channels, looking and seeing, what's working, what's not working, the strategies that people are using to grow their channels, that kind of stuff. And, because of that, I'm looking at tons of content and tons of channels, and I notice a pattern across a lot of new channels, and this typically happens the most with newer channels, is that when it comes to live streams and it comes to video content, a lot of people just aren't using the features that YouTube has available to us that will help people find more content. So we have an option on YouTube to where you have pinned comments where people can, or you can pin a comment to the top of your comment section on your live stream replay that invites people to subscribe or recommends a playlist of content that the viewers that are interacting in that stream might enjoy, or another video on your channel if you upload, multiple types of content. That gives you the advantage to be able to easily send people to more of your content, which stacks onto the watch time that you're getting from, that one session. It also stacks onto the views that you're getting, your opportunities to show more ads for revenue and things like that. So you want to make sure that you're using all of YouTube's features, pinned comments, the description box. Make sure that you actually fill out an actual description. This helps YouTube kind of sort your content and know where to put your content and who to put in front of. They use the title for that. They use your description for that, and they use the information that they collect from the actual video content itself for that. So you want to make sure that you're using those features to give yourself that advantage. In addition to that, make sure you also have your channel page set up properly. So as everything's growing, it also makes it easy for people, to find more of what it is that they're looking for, especially if you're using the shorts hack, I'll call it, or just if you're using YouTube Shorts. I don't want to use the word hack, that's misleading. But if you're using, YouTube Shorts to bring a lot more attention to your content, like we were talking about when this first started, then in that particular case, you want to make sure that you have everything set up so that if you have, one of your shorts starts bringing in a substantial amount of traffic, you're able to efficiently and effectively absorb that traffic and drive people into the things that, or make it easy for them to find, the things that are most important to them. Next is you also want to make sure that you are always thinking of the viewer first when it comes to your content. And the reason that you want to make sure that you're thinking about this, it's especially important if you're promoting other things as well, is I've also found that a lot of live streamers that promote things, marketers, things like that, people that have businesses, they'll spend like half of the stream promoting something, and it's usually the first half, and then they'll spend like the last half, like giving value and that kind of stuff. What I recommend that you always do when it comes to your viewers is, try the best that you can to lead with value with whatever it is that you're doing, but especially if you're promoting things or trying to bring attention to your business. Because, one of the big problems that happens when it comes to YouTube, especially for marketers and business owners, is they will, like, the whole purpose of the channel is to drive revenue. So because of that, they're so focused on revenue that they stop thinking at scale, and they're thinking like, how can I get as many sales as possible from this one piece of content, instead of thinking, well, if I can optimize this better and I can structure things in a better way, if I can focus on the value that I'm bringing to the viewer, then in that particular case, I'll get a lot more activity on this video at scale, which then will bring me a lot more, sales long-term with this content, because it'll be a more effective piece of content for YouTube, which will help YouTube recommend it to the right people and more of the right people, which will then bring attention to the things that I'm trying to bring attention to a lot more people at scale. So you got to make sure that you are thinking about that when it comes to, when it comes to the content that you're putting out, because when it comes to YouTube, that value portion, it's so easy because we have so much content, really on all these platforms, we have so much content that it's so easy to just start watching something, be like, oh yeah, this person's trying to sell me something, and then you just move on to something else, right? So because of that, just make sure that you are always leading with value first. Next is, if you are someone that is listening to a tip that I mentioned earlier about making sure that you're thinking about the replays, make sure that you're also optimizing for the replay as well, or post-optimizing your streams. So what that means is, while you're live streaming, and really immediately after the stream is finished, usually as well, you can't add like end screens. However, after YouTube processes it on their end, the longer your stream takes in terms of the amount of time that you've been streaming, the longer it's going to take YouTube to process your streams. You can add end screens and stuff. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you are adding end screens to your stream. Make sure that you're adding cards to your stream if it's appropriate, for what it is that you're sharing and showing. But you want to make sure that you are going in and just confirming, okay, for the live stream, we use this thumbnail and this title and this description makes total sense for being live. But does this also make sense for somebody on the replay? And then just make sure that you run that little exercise so that you can make any adjustments needed in terms of your title. And another big one with this is a lot of people use like icons, or they'll use the word live in their title. So you would also use this as an opportunity to take those types of things out of your title and kind of clean it up, tidy it up a little bit, make it a little bit more appropriate for YouTube and that replay experience. The next thing when it comes to your live streams is if you have the bandwidth to do this, and I know some people do and some people don't, especially if you're a StreamYard user, because they make it to where you can download the audio of your live stream. So if the structure and the topics and things that you do and talk about in your live stream, if they are things that you could repurpose as a podcast, I recommend that you do that as well. And the reason for that is because, if you are a StreamYard user, they let you just download just the audio. So you can just be like, okay, here's my live stream audio. Now I'm just going to take it and upload it directly to, my podcasting service. And then they're going to distribute it across all the podcasting platforms. And then by doing that, what you do is you are making it easy for people to consume your content wherever it is that they happen to find it convenient. So even though it's not necessarily them participating during your live stream or watching your live stream on the replay, the people that want it in a podcast format, they can get it in a podcast format. And that allows you to be able to have that additional asset to meet people where they're at and give content to them in the way that they would like. And for the people that listen to you on a regular basis and they start seeing that value, when they have the opportunity, some of them will come and participate in a live stream as well. So it's also a way that you can add slowly, of course, over time, that you can add to, the amount of people that are participating in what it is that you're doing. Because one, if you're doing what we were talking about before in terms of leveraging shorts by sampling out some content from your live streams, if you're doing that, and you're also putting it out in podcast format, as long as the type of streams you do is appropriate for that, then you're giving yourself all of these different outlets for people to find you outside of it just being focused on like, hey, they got to show up when I'm live in order for it to matter to them, right? Same exact thing when it comes to, repurpose or not repurposing, but going in and, cutting off all the stuff in the intro and things like that and just making the content more appropriate for the replay. Let's see here. So next up we have, if you are trying to bring attention to things, one of the things that you can do is if you are a StreamYard user, you can see, and I've just started doing this recently, which is why I wanted to put this on this list. But one thing that you can do is you can actually use the naming feature in StreamYard to just put like a little, message on your stream. So, typically we would use it for names and things like that, but they have a headline feature to where it'll show your name and, a headline. That is what made me think about it. I was like, okay, so if they have this headline feature, if I put my name and then, a website or something underneath that, then in that particular case, my name is actually most prominent and the website is like the smallest, and it takes up, a decent amount of screen space. So because of that, I'm just going to use the name field, and I'm actually going to put my headline in the name field. And then that way, people can get my name down in the description, or, when I introduce myself. By the way, if this is your first time seeing me, my name is Nick Nim, and I teach people how to thrive on YouTube. And you're watching this on the StreamYard YouTube channel. StreamYard is a live streaming tool that you can use to have great looking live streams that makes it easy for you to bring on guests, add graphics to your streams, add videos. They record everything in the background so you can download like your streams when they're complete. You can sample out short form content for Instagram Reels, YouTube, TikTok, all of that using StreamYard. All of this happens, all within the interface without you even having to leave the platform. It's great. But you can try it out for free in the description below if you haven't used StreamYard before. But the idea is that you are, leveraging, the features that are available to you and whatever streaming, stuff that you're using. But if you're using StreamYard, using that name field as a way to be like, hey, connect with me here, is a thing that you can do to, get more attention to things that you might be trying to bring attention to. Next, and this one is really important, and this is a small step that causes a lot of people to overlook tons of things about how they're putting together everything on their YouTube channel. I also recommend that you look through your content and that you start on like your channel page and you go and you start looking through everything it is that you are doing on your YouTube channel on different devices. So some people by default, they just do everything on computers. So because of that, they're only really watching, what it is that they're doing and going through like a viewer flow on a computer. But do it on a computer, do it on your phone, do it on your TV, do it on a tablet if you have one, do it on anything that you have access to. So you can make sure that you're looking for holes in how people find more content in your channel and how easy it is for people to read the text that you might have on your thumbnails, those types of things. Just make sure that you go through that process, because then you'll be experiencing your content as a viewer instead of, just putting it out there and, hoping that the people that you're interacting with are going to be able to, decipher all of that on their own. Next, I want to talk about some production tips, and then we're going to get into the Q&A part of this. So if you do have any questions about any stuff that I'm talking about, or really anything related to YouTube, make sure you get those ready. But when it comes to the production tips, one of the things that I've noticed a lot of content creators do, and I actually have a video coming up on the StreamYard channel about 5 things that you can do to make your streams look better that are just, super simple and easy to do. But one of the things that I mentioned in there, based on, a big problem that I'm seeing in the live streaming community, is make sure that you are manually white balancing your cameras. So what happens is, like in my case, it's I have it all set up, so it's like a studio. And because of that, the lighting is controlled. I have like the overhead lights turned off and things like that. So that allows me to be able to control like the color temperature and all of that. But even with that, I still manually white balance my camera in order to make sure that, my skin tones look good, to make sure everything looks accurate in the way that it actually looks, instead of, things looking a little bit orange or a little bit like yellow or just a little bit off. And the reason that that's important is because it'll make, if you go through the process of, manually white balancing your webcam or your phone or your DSLR, whatever it is that you're using to stream, then it just makes sure, it ensures that what the viewer is looking at is accurate and it doesn't look weird. Because the whole thing when it comes to your production, when it comes to your live streams and making video content, is that if you get your content to the threshold to where when a viewer comes into it, they're not distracted by anything, then you're doing the right thing, right? But if you are like, hey, if somebody comes into my live stream and based on the microphone and all the stuff that I'm using, the audio isn't that great. And because of that, it's a distraction. So when somebody comes into the stream, instead of focusing on the content, they're thinking like, man, this audio sounds kind of crazy. I can like hardly hear what they're talking about. It sounds like they're across the room or whatever the thing is. Or there's just too much going on in the audio, in order to, where they can't even focus on what it is that you're, saying or showing them. In addition to that, speaking of microphones, you also, in the sound, you also want to make sure that you are treating your room, if possible, or that you get some type of like dynamic microphone. And the reason for this also is that same thing that I was talking about, is like when it comes to what people see, people will be really tolerant with that. But when it comes to what people are hearing, people are not tolerant with that at all. Because if things don't sound right, it can be like annoying to people, and it can be annoying in a way to where they don't even really know why, but they're just like, yeah, this just isn't, I'm just not into this. I'm out of here, right? So because of that, like trying to get your audio to sound clear is really important. If you're like, hey, my setup, I don't want a microphone like that or whatever, that's fine. I just recommend that you at the very least get a microphone that you can get close to you. And if you get a microphone close to you, even if it's a small lavalier microphone, then it can, you can just clip it, on your shirt or whatever. And by having it close to you, then your sound waves of your voice don't have to travel as far. It's all hitting like right here, and it'll make your voice sound more present, more present and prominent in the frame. And the viewer that's hanging out in your live stream or your video, they'll be able to hear everything a lot better, and they won't leave, because of it. Next is that mic proximity matters, was my next tip, which I kind of went over already in terms of getting the microphone close to you. You also want to make sure that you're being intentional with your setup, and that your setup matches the vibe that you want, and the message that you're sharing. So what I mean by this is, like I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen them too, great question about how do you white balance? So if you could write that down, and then when I go into the Q&A here in just in a few minutes, ask that question again, and then we'll get that answered. But basically, when you are thinking about your setup, also think about the type of content that you are making. So as an example, if you're somebody that is the most extreme example that I can give of this, just to, help paint the picture is, let's say that you are one of those YouTube channels that teach people how to make money, right? Then in that particular case, if you're teaching people how to make money, but then, they're like, what they are seeing like in your environment and things like that is like, hey, this person, like they're not, like it doesn't look like they're actually doing the stuff that they're talking about, then it can kind of break, their perception of everything. So because of that, just be intentional with your setup, make sure that things look and align with the vibe that you're trying to go with and the type of content that you put out to help it better resonate with the people that you're trying to reach around that type of content. And then of course, also for the sake of, just showing authenticity through what it is that you're doing as well. Also, one thing that I get a lot, or one question that I get a lot on my live streams that I do on my main channel on Saturdays, is I'll get questions about live streaming and about like, getting ready for live streams and like shaking your nerves out and things like that. And one of the things that can be really beneficial to you is to create a ritual of some type around your live stream. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like for example, for me, it's typically going downstairs and getting coffee or another drink. I have a little candle over here that I light as long as I remember to keep my candle refreshed and, before it runs out, things like that. In some cases, in most cases, actually before my Saturday streams, because I'll do those for about 3 hours. So I'll try to meditate for 5 to 10 minutes before, my stream starts, usually 10. And that's just a thing that I do to just kind of not calm me down, but just to kind of give myself that mental space, because I'm getting ready to go in and do, questions for 3 hours. So it just gives me that way to just kind of forget everything else that's happening in the day. And then, just kind of sit down and just kind of get my focus together and bring myself into the moment for my live stream. And that just is a way that I use as part of my ritual to help me prepare. And by focusing on that ritual and by going through the processes that I do before I live stream, I don't have time to think about like, oh, what if people, what if I say something stupid, or what if people don't like me, or what if nobody shows up or anything like that, because I'm just focused on doing my ritual and, like, okay, I do this, then I do this, then I do this, then I do this, and I come over here and I turn on these things. And by doing that, it just has me focusing on those things instead of being worried about what could possibly go wrong, right? And in addition to that, things will go wrong. So just get ready for it and don't stress out about it, because everybody understands. Next is start with what you have. Like when it comes to live streaming, when it comes to everything, when it comes to making content, one of the things that holds back a lot of people when they're wanting to live stream, or if they're wanting to make video content, or even if they're wanting to make a podcast or whatever, is people always think that everything has to, be perfect, or that there has to be some standard. Now, all of that stuff can help and all of it can, make a difference. But the thing that's going to make the biggest difference is if you take action or not, right? So if you, spend, tons of time just waiting around until everything is perfect when it comes to, starting to live stream or make video content, then in that particular case, you might be waiting for a really long time in order to actually be able to get the stuff to do all of the, things and make everything look and sound the way that you want. But in reality, as long as you have one of these, you can get started, right? And you can get yourself in motion. And once you get yourself in motion, then you can let the momentum kind of take care of everything else. But if you don't get in motion, then, it could be this time next year until you get started. So if you are somebody that's watching this and you're thinking to yourself like, hey, I would love to start live streaming or making video content, but I'm just not quite there yet, like just start doing it. Because once you get in motion, then you're going to learn faster. You're going to, understand, so much more about this through practice than you will, watching videos and, things like that about it. So start now. So we're going to go ahead and go into the Q&A part of this. So if you do have a question, and I'm going to start with the white balance question up here, but if you do have a question, just make sure you put a Q in front of your question. That's how I know that it's for me and not like a side question that's happening in the chat. And, just drop those questions in here and I'll go through them in the order that they are received. So Viva Borkin Libre says, how do we white balance? So on DSLR cameras, there's a direct white balance setting. Webcams also have a white balance setting. So let's say, for example, you're using like a Logitech Brio. Then in that case, Logitech has a software that you download with that. And then within that software, if you go into it, you have an option for white balance. Most people will set it on auto white balance. And the problem with that is, let's say that you have like a lamp on over here and you have, like another lamp over here and another lamp over here. Well, if the light color doesn't match up, the metering within those cameras can make everything look a little bit weird. So because of that, what you want to do is you want to go in, you want to turn off auto white balance, you want to sit there and tweak it until everything looks natural and it looks normal, based on your particular setup. Now, one thing that can help with this is if you do get the same color bulbs, it'll make all of this easier. So if you get the same color bulbs, like for example, I think Philips, it's Philips that makes a compact fluorescent light bulb that you can screw it into any lamp or anything like that. And with that, it's actually balanced to daylight balance. So the light color on that, I think it's like 5,600 to like 6,000. I think it's somewhere in that range. And because of that, it's a natural light, like it looks like daylight. So you can get those if you wanted to make the white balance easier. And then you can just dial in the actual number, because a lot of things will let you do that to where you're like, okay, my lights are 5,600. So in my Logitech settings, let me just go and change that to 5,600. And then bam, we're good to go. Everything looks great. And we're ready to stream, right? On a phone, there's an app called Filmic Pro that you can use, that you can dial in the white balance settings there. Now, if you're just going to go like natively to YouTube, then in that case, I don't think you can do that. If you're just like, hey, I'm just going to use the native, onboard camera and I'm just going to go straight live to YouTube. In that case, I don't think that you're going to be able to do that. And that's where having the compact fluorescent bulbs would be the right solution for that. Let's see here. So next up on our list here for these questions, I'm going to start going through these here in the order that they are received. Okay, so you'd be using your phone. Yeah, so for video content, you can do that using an app called Filmic Pro. And you can do it like inside of the iPhone app as well. Like you can set some of those settings, but for live streaming, in terms of it carrying through some of the apps there, I don't believe it. I don't believe it does in that native setting. Let's see here, looking for more questions. Okay, so that Goth Farmer says, what's the best way that I can set up my equipment so I can shoot live streams for my barn? I'd like to experience with evaluating and training my show rabbits on live stream. I'd like to use my camera. So one thing that you can do, I mean, of course, you'd need to have an internet signal out there, so you got to make sure that your Wi-Fi is strong enough. If you have power in your barn, which I'm going to guess you do, then in that case, if your barn is close enough to your house, you can get a repeater for your Wi-Fi, and you can, have that there, to where basically that repeater is, it goes by another name too, but I'm going to call it a repeater. Basically what it is, I've got one sitting right up here, and then I've got them all over my place too, because my Wi-Fi signal isn't big enough to get like all over the place, where it's a strong signal. So because of that, I have these repeaters, and I have, I have one downstairs, I've got one over on the other side. And by having those, it allows them to create like a mesh over the whole place. So basically I have my router, that router is beaming to all of these, different meshes. And then these meshes are all beaming to each other as well. So it just creates a nice strong signal. So because of that, you would want to get some type of strong, internet out into your barn. So if that's, through a repeater, or if it's running a line, or if you have a separate install over there, they, come and install another version, whatever, just get strong internet there, because you need at least decent internet in order to, put up a nice quality stream that's not all pixelated and stuff like that. Next, if you're using your camera, the next thing that you would need is, if you're going to use the camera and you're going to do it through like a computer or through StreamYard, then in that case, what you'd want to do is you'd want to grab like a laptop or something like that you would take out there with you. And then you would just connect your camera direct, depending on the camera that you have, you'd connect it either directly into your laptop via USB, or you would need to get something called a cam link, which I'm seeing really quick if I have any just kind of laying around, and I don't. But the cam link, excuse me, it's just like a little USB device that you can plug into your USB port of your computer. And when you plug it into that USB port of your computer, the other side of it is an HDMI port. And then you can take the HDMI out of your camera and you can plug it directly in there. Or if you're using like a webcam, then in that case, you can just plug it directly in USB. But you mentioned you wanted to use your camera. So for that, you would use a cam link, and then that cam link would get it right into your computer. A Canon 80D, perfect. Yeah, like here, this camera, this one is a Canon 90D. I use one of those in my setup too. The rest of them are Sony's, but that particular one is a Canon 90D. So yeah, so with that one, I have all my stuff routing through this right here. It's a ATEM Mini. There you go, you can see it better there. But with the Canon 90D, you can technically use the Canon EOS utility, and you can use that camera as a webcam without the cam link, but you'll get a cleaner signal and you'll get like the right aspect ratios and stuff if you do it through a cam link. Let's see here. And then from there, one other thing that I'd recommend in your case specifically, and I'm going to see if I have a thing for it. So I'm not sure in your barn, I'm not sure if you are going to, like mount your camera somewhere, but you can have a tripod, but a tripod can only get, so high. In your barn, you might also want to consider using something like this. So this is a Manfrotto arm. It's two separate pieces. So you buy this part right here as one piece, and then you buy the clamp as another. But basically with this clamp, what you can do is you can clamp this on like anything. So I have a truss that's going, like around my room here. And with that truss, I use these to, to connect like lights. I use them to connect like this camera right over here. I use these here so I can get them into places that tripods just won't reach. So these are a great solution, especially if you're going to clamp it to some like overhead thing or something like that. Great solution for you if you're trying to hook up your barn, especially if you're going to end up doing like, I don't know if you're going to do this, but if you end up doing like, multiple cameras and stuff like that, these things are fantastic for being able to put, cameras in weird places. So here, how long does it take a newbie to make it 3 to 5 years? Meathead, this is a great question. So I was actually talking to somebody on Reddit about this today, and there was somebody on Reddit. There's a Reddit subreddit called New YouTubers. It's cool. It's a good place for like information, but a lot of people there, they just share unexperienced or inexperienced information. And there's somebody in there that matter of factly said like, hey, you got to make tons of videos for your, YouTube channel, and it's going to take you a really long time to get views, so just get ready for that. And my reply was like, that's not true. And the reason that my reply was that's not true, and they didn't appreciate that, by the way, but the reason that my reply was that's not true is some YouTube channels, they'll start and they'll just hit the ground running, and right out of the gate, they'll start doing well. There'll be other channels that will hit the ground and they just have trouble going through the learning curve for whatever reason, or they don't have the time or whatever. And because of that, sometimes it'll take people like years to get off the ground. So because of that, the factor that usually impacts people the most in terms of growth is, one, the amount of time that they can dedicate to it, because you got to be able to do the thing in order to do the thing, right? So it's the amount of time. Two, their willingness to bend. So what I mean by that is when it comes to making content, it's really easy for us as the content creators to look at the content that you're making and say, this is the way I'm doing it. So people can be on board, or they can, kick rocks. And when you take that approach, one of the things that happens is, depending on your content, a lot of people might just end up kicking rocks because they don't, get the value out of your content. So because of that, you have to be willing to bend in terms of, I'm doing things that I enjoy. I'm talking about things that I enjoy. I'm sharing things that I enjoy. I'm showing things that I enjoy. So because of that, I'm doing something that I enjoy, but you have to remember that everything it is that you're doing is for other people to also enjoy. So because of that, you have your side of things, which is like, hey, I'm making this content, having a good time, talking about things that I like to do all the time, so on and so forth. But if you want to perform at like the best that you can, you got to make sure that you're thinking about the people that are on the receiving end of your content, and you try to fine tune things over time to better serve those people, with the type of content that they're looking for, that they enjoy. So when it comes to, how long it typically takes to, grow the channel, it can happen quickly. If, you hit the ground running, you know how to do it and all of that. Like, for example, if I were to start a YouTube channel today and dedicate like all my efforts into it, then in that case, I'd get that channel off the ground like really quickly, because I have the experience. I've actually helped other people do that same exact thing, that kind of stuff. So like, I know what's required. And, if I wanted to, do that, I would be able to do it because I have, you know, the technical know-how and I have the practice and the skills that I've developed over 8 years of doing this, that I know how to do it. But if somebody comes on to the platform and they don't have all that stuff, which is most people that come onto the platform, like, you know, hey, I've never even thought about making a YouTube video before, you know, outside of me making, you know, videos on my family or something, then in that particular case, like, you know, you have to go through that learning process. And because of that, for some content creators, they can hit the ground, they have the time to dedicate to it. So they're putting everything into practice. They're learning. They have the time to analyze what it is that they're doing. They have the time to watch like a lot of videos in order to, you know, level up their skill sets, and a lot of time to practice the things that they learn in those videos to level up, those sorts of things. So they're able to level up their skill sets quicker. And because of that, you know, and they're willing to bend, like I was talking about before, then that will help them grow faster. In addition to that, you also have content strategy. So when it comes to content strategy, you have one camp that is like, hey, I'm just going to upload YouTube videos. And then you have another camp that is like, hey, I'm going to upload YouTube videos and I'm going to try to make it easy for people to find more of the content. I'm going to make it, you know, to where I'm handing off, you know, other relevant videos in my end screens. I'm linking up other videos in my video descriptions, you know, those sorts of things, so that, you know, they start amplifying their views and things like that, which is something that YouTube loves. And then it's also creating that easy flow for viewers, which means that they're going to get more subscribers or have a higher subscribe rate, those sorts of things. And because of that, those channels end up doing better as well. So, you know, it really comes down to like what you put into it, and, you know, your ability to quickly, you know, develop all the, you know, skill sets that you need in order to do the thing. But if you're like, hey, you know, I have a background in marketing, then like you're light years ahead of a lot of people that start. If you're like, hey, I got a background in video production, light years ahead of most people. Background in graphic design, light years ahead of most people. I've got a background in like public speaking or like sales or presenting in some way, light years ahead of, you know, a lot of people. So, you know, like there's advantages that you might bring on from your past life that can help you succeed faster. But if you're like just coming into this and you're doing all of this, you know, for the first time, then in that particular case, you know, it could be a longer road depending on how innately or how naturally you understand, you know, all aspects of, you know, YouTube and just online media. Christianity Explained says, how do I tell YouTube that I'm uploading a podcast as opposed to a live stream? Is YouTube simply talking about audio uploads? So in terms of audio only uploads, not that I'm aware of, you have to at least have like a voice, like a audiogram or something attached to it. In terms of telling YouTube, I haven't actually uploaded anything since they put that feature in there on Friday. So I'm not sure yet in terms of, you know, if there's like an additional option or anything to let them know that it's specifically a podcast. I've got stuff showing up in my podcast area on my channel, and it's showing like playlists in there of things. But in terms of telling them or assigning, you know, the content that you're uploading as a podcast, I'm not sure on that yet, because that just popped out. But get ready for that though, because like when it comes to podcasting on YouTube, that's something that they're also going hard on this year. So basically huge opportunities on YouTube right now, just for everybody that's hanging out here. Live streaming, or I'm sorry, well, live streaming is one too, but live streaming, YouTube Shorts, and podcasting. And when it comes to your live streams, depending on like the length of them and things like that, some of those will be able to, you know, show up as podcasts also. But those are, you know, big opportunities that YouTube is focusing on this year. Let's see here. Creator Classroom says, how long did you stream before you felt comfortable streaming live? So it's going to sound crazy, but like my very first live stream, I was just awkward, but I wasn't necessarily uncomfortable. I was just focused on like, how do I get everything set up? Is this even live or not? And then I focused on the tutorial that I was doing at the time. I think I had like 2 people through that stream, like while I was actually live on my first live stream. And I was pumped, like, woo, hey, we got some people in here. Hey, what's going on? And then after that, I didn't stream for, I don't know, probably 6 months or 9 months or something. And then YouTube put out the feature to where you could go live on your phone. And at that time I had like 10,000 subscribers, which was like the requirement for it. And a friend of mine, Brian D. Johnson, he was like, hey dude, you know, you have this live streaming feature? Because I didn't know about it yet. And I was like, yeah, you know, I got it. I'll be right back. And then I went to the other room and I live streamed for like 3 hours at that point in time. And even right there, I was like, you know, I went in and I was like, oh, hey, what's going on? And I didn't really know what to do. But it ended up being a great stream, had lots of people in there because it was a new YouTube feature and they always, you know, kind of prioritize their new features. So I ended up having a lot of people in that particular stream, and that one kind of like lit my fire for live streaming. And I started doing them all the time, like from that day forward, still like years later, still doing them all the time. Like on my, like last week, I think I did, let's see here, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I did like three or four. Yeah, 4 live streams last week across different channels. This week, I'll end up doing 1, 2, 3. But yeah, I'll end up doing like 5, maybe 6 this week. But anyway, when it comes to being comfortable though, because I was making videos, I wasn't really intimidated by live streams. Plus, from my sales experience that I have in my background. So some of that was like corporate sales because I had a commercial cleaning company. So I had to go and like, get the contracts for, office buildings and stuff. But in addition to that, I also had a door-to-door marketing company for a decade. And because of that, in some of those situations, you would walk into like a office building or like an office building, or sometimes we'd go to like universities and we'd walk in and they'd be like 30 people in there. So like you would just have to, do your pitch in front of like everybody. So because of that, I was able to get through, like the jitters of live streaming pretty quickly. However, every now and then, I will get this like kind of like weirdness, like before the stream, and that's where my routine, will kind of help me just kind of get my brain, ready to rock and roll. What's the best way to maintain a great connection? I've only used StreamYard to conduct meetings, and we've had connections issues that I imagine could frustrate live viewers. Make sure you're hardlined. Like, make sure you are, actually plugged in. You can stream via Wi-Fi, but if you stream via Wi-Fi, expect issues. So because of that, just because, signals drop, it can be your computer, it can be your router. Like, there's a lot of things that are, stringing together to hold your stream up. But if you just plug in, then you're going to be good to go. It doesn't matter what you're using to live stream. If your internet connection isn't solid, it's going to give you some issues. So because of that, just make sure that you are, plugged directly in. For example, I've got a music area over here and everything over there, like it's just all Wi-Fi. I don't have anything ran over there. But I might start streaming some of that. So because of that, I'm going to have to like run this big long Ethernet cable over there in order to hardwire it, so I can stream from that machine too. GDK Storytelling says, if you cut some of your live footage to make it replay friendly, doesn't it remove the live chat? It does. But for the for the replay experience, the live chat isn't as important. Right. So like when it comes to, trimming out the like shout outs and things like that, basically what you have to do is you have to make the decision on if you would prefer to have more views on that live stream experience as a replay, or if you just prefer people to come in and abandon the video and not watch it because they have to watch through a bunch of stuff that they don't care about before they get to the content, when there's, millions of videos on YouTube, billions of videos on YouTube that they could watch, instead of interacting with that piece of content. So because of that, in my opinion, it's better to say, hey, I'm just going to lose the chat because during the live stream, that's when the chat matters. And I'm going to make this more appropriate for the replay. And then when people come in on the replay and that chat's gone also, it also makes it feel more like a video on demand instead of having, the live chat going and all that stuff too. Let's see here. And really quick, if you do have a question, make sure you put a Q in front of your question so I can know it's for me. Let's see here. Next up, we've got, can I simply use my laptop to live stream? Patricia, absolutely you can. So when it comes to live streaming, like when I travel, I'll typically travel, or I'll typically live stream from my laptop, but tons of people use laptops to live stream. But what you want to do, just make sure that you do have an actual internet cable plugged into it. Like for example, like when I go to the States and like, let's say I go there for a conference or something, and then I also go and like visit my mom while I'm there. Then what I do is like if I set up shop in like her living room or like her dining room to live stream, then in that case, I'll like, I'll plug something into the router and then I'll drag that across the whole like living room and stuff. And then I'll plug it into the computer to make sure that I have a good, strong signal. But absolutely, you can do that. Now, if you're on a Mac, they won't have like the direct plug-in. So you have to get an external device that you plug into your Mac that also has a Ethernet port that you can plug into. Let's see here. Oh, my audio keeps cutting out for a few seconds. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, I'll check that out after the stream and see what the thing is. Let's see here, looking for any more questions. Okay, what software do you recommend and don't recommend for live streaming? Now, of course, I recommend StreamYard. It's what I personally use, for my live streams. So I recommend StreamYard. Another piece of software that I use these days is I will also use OBS, but I only use OBS for my news streams that I do. They're really short live streams. But when it comes to the news streams, the reason that I use OBS for those is because I need to position myself in a different way, because I set it up like it's a news thing. So because of that, I have to be, it's actually over on this side, but I'm over like on the right third of the screen. And then I have like a little box that pops up here. And for that whole thing, currently, as of this moment in time, StreamYard doesn't support just being able to grab your image and move it over when using their green screen feature. So because of that, I use that. But I port it through StreamYard, meaning that I use OBS camera as my camera source in StreamYard. And I still stream through StreamYard, even if I'm using OBS. And the reason for that is because, one, I get the recording of the stream without having to do it directly to my computer. Two is if there is some type of technical problem with my internet or any of my equipment or my computer, then, that causes it to shut down. Since StreamYard holds everything open for me in the cloud, then what happens is if I have like a technical problem, then I can just come back in on my phone or something like that in the meantime while I'm getting everything set back up, and I can keep everybody engaged without actually losing everybody and then having to put out a new stream where there's like no notification, there's no time, for people to, be, aware of it. So because of that, I use it for the sake of that, security of streaming through there and the ability to record it in the background, because we repurpose some of this stuff. Adolf Nito says, who is changing the camera that you show? So I actually have this happening on this device over here. Let me turn off actually, it wasn't on. I didn't turn it back on yet. But here, let me go to this one. So here, I use this device right here. It's called a ATEM Mini Extreme. With the ATEM Mini Extreme, this one has 8 different inputs in it, and I can connect 8 different cameras, or, like a bunch of cameras, maybe like a laptop or a tablet, something like that, anything I want to show on screen. And basically I can just hit the button and then it switches. I'll do it this way so you can see the difference there. But I just use, the buttons right here, and that allows me to switch back and forth. And another really cool thing about this particular device is it has this button right here. So I can hit this and it'll record also here. So it'll record here, plus it'll record it into StreamYard. But the difference with this box is it will record all of the camera inputs simultaneously. So it gives me one live view, which is like, hey, this is what you guys are seeing. But then it also records all of the cameras, even when they're not actually live. So then, when it comes to repurposing, you can use that as a way to make content. And then you can, you can just chop in between whatever it is that you need. And if you want to do it for live streams, you can do it that way too. But this is the big one. This one is, it was a pretty big, expense. But they have smaller ones, which I used to use as well, that have 4 inputs. And then they have a version that you can record just like I was talking about. And then they have another version to where it's just a switcher. And the cool thing about these is once you get it all set up, you can add macros to it. And with those macros, what it does is it allows you to preset everything. So what I can do is I can say, okay, this camera right here is going to be on for like X amount of time. This camera over here is going to be on for X amount of time. Then it's going to switch to this camera. This one's going to be on for X amount of time. Then it's going to go over here, then back to this one. But it allows you to kind of design what the switching is going to look like. And then you can hit go or hit play, and then you just loop it. And then it just continually, does all the switching. So it makes it like seem like there's somebody behind the scenes switching everything. But in reality, it's just this box running macros, and then I can override it if I just reach over and touch something, or I can just manually switch between different like macros and stuff like that. Let's see here. If you build a short only channel or mainly gain all of your subs from short, that's another conversation. Let's see here. Looking for any questions. Again, if you have a question, make sure you put a Q in front of it. So are there any filters on StreamYard that we can use when going live? As of right now, they don't have, like filters, anything that you would actually lay over the camera image itself. They don't have anything like that, but one thing that they do have, let me switch to my brand thing here. As you can see, when I switch to my brand thing, how it changed the watermark that's right up here in the very top corner, because it allows me to, bring in my own custom, graphics now. But one of the things that I do is, I have these graphics here. Let me take your comment down so you can see Let's see here. Where was your comment? There it is. So, so even though it's not like a filter, I can add like, graphics, those types of things as a means to, just bring attention to, other things that I'm doing. And by doing that, you can add anything you want. So even little things like this. So for my streams, for when I'm setting everything up, I use this inside of StreamYard. And you know what? Actually, I should just drop this in the group for anybody that wants to, in their Facebook group for anybody that wants to use it. But anyway, I just have this rule of thirds grid in here so that like when I'm setting everything up, because, like with my desk and stuff, sometimes I'll bump it, those sorts of things, and it kind of moves everything around. Or maybe I take this camera off, make some videos with it, and then I'll put it back on. And with this little grid, I just use this as an overlay in StreamYard. And then, when I'm repositioning everything, I can make sure that I'm actually a little bit off on that one. I need to reframe that shot. My face should be somewhere over here. And then this should actually be like a little bit more in frame here. But like here, pretty much center there. And then I have the top third where it's actually focusing, or drawing your eye essentially to the monitor over here. During the StreamYard stream, I have, the StreamYard graphics over here, but on my main stream that I do on Saturdays, I just have that rotating through, a bunch of different sponsor logos of, my products, those sorts of things. But you can use it for all kinds of stuff. For my old setup where I had the light bars, I had this right here so that I could make sure that I would position my light bars in the right place too. So either my light bars would move or the camera would move, and I would just keep, moving it a little bit in order to do that. And then this right here was the plane for the desk that I had in that particular position at that time when I was using that camera. And you can also use animated GIFs in StreamYard as well, just in case you didn't know. So it's just words, that I have kind of bouncing back and forth. So just, as a heads up for those of you that are not aware of that. But another thing with StreamYard as well is you can also use like this one's a video. Super chat. So you can do like those types of things. I play music videos. I have like music videos that I play during my live stream as well. But yeah, you can, it doesn't have like filters in terms of, the way that you make the image look, but in terms of the options that you have for, doing some fun stuff, it definitely has all that stuff in there. Let's see here, looking for more of these, for more questions. Jerry says, I'd love to see a short and what you see when you're live streaming. You can actually see it on TikTok. It's on my TikTok account right now. You can find my TikTok account by going to niman.bio. Oh, I bumped this up quite a bit. We're back here with that. Okay, is there a way to change the time that the end screen appears? So when it comes to the end screens on the YouTube videos, you get 20 seconds at the end. So you have to make sure that that when your stream is coming to an end, to be very intentional about how you end your stream. So for example, on my short streams that I do, like those streams will last me like, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I think the longest one that I had, well, now I've had some longer ones because of some issues that have happened with YouTube, to where like we were talking about some legal thing that was happening and I ended up making that particular news segment like 30 minutes or something. But typically they're like 5 to 10 minutes usually. And because of that, I structure everything with those as an actual piece of content that I'm making live. So the way I imagine it in my brain when I'm going live is I'm making a piece of content live, I'm getting through that content, and then I'm out. So what I do is as soon as I start the stream, I have my little blurb that I do in terms of like what it is that, that we're doing. Then I go through the content itself. I don't interact with the chat in any capacity. I just go through the actual content itself. And then at the end of my stream, I say, hey, if you're just getting started on YouTube, I have a playlist right here you can click into that will teach you a bunch of things about YouTube. So go ahead and click into that now. And then I kill the stream. And then I say like, that's the news or whatever. And then I kill the stream. And the reason that I do it that way, and I structure everything and then I lead it up to that end part and then try to get people into that next video, is so that I can make sure that I do all of that within that 20-second span that I have at the end, so that I can put an end screen there so that it makes sense when people are watching it, that there'll actually be an end screen that shows up there in that particular case. But you can't make it a minute earlier. You only have the last 20 seconds of your content. So the only way that you can like adjust it is if you do go into the YouTube editor and you cut out parts of your live stream, like let's say you cut off any intro stuff, and you do that reset, trick that I always tell people about in terms of making like a clear cut point. And then you cut off, parts of the end as well to where, it would actually land where you tell people that the end screen is. You can do that. Or just when you're structuring your stream and you're going through the process of streaming, then just make sure, you hand it off appropriately there at the end, within that 20-second time window. Let's see here. 6400 is a DSLR. Let's see here. Do I have links for these on Amazon? On the StreamYard channel, I don't add affiliate links to any of the content here. But if you just go to Amazon, in your case specifically, because you're talking about the cam link, if you go to Amazon, you just put in cam link, then it'll show up there for you. Let's see here. 3D Chick, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Looking for those cues here for the questions. Okay. Kuz's Corner says, how do I prevent the light from my computer screen from reflecting off my glasses while filming and live streaming? I can't sit further away or I won't be able to see my outline. So when it comes to that, so you can see here, like sometimes I'll catch the screen like just a little bit. So there's a few different things you can do here. So when it comes to the light, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your lighting is above your your horizontal plane. So basically, if you're like looking around at all, you just want to make sure that your light is above like your horizontal plane there in terms of, the light coming into, your camera. So just a really easy way to do this is you have your camera position here, just put your lights up higher than that and just have them facing down at you and coming in this way. So like, for example, you can see here. So you can see here, I've got this like grid, right here on this particular light, but this light, I mean, it's like, it's up here. So with that, it's a very big light. So it, a lot of light, falls off it, but the light is diffused. So because of that, it's like spreading around a lot, which is why I have the grid to kind of focus it here, not drop on the background too much. But with this, it's high and it's not even that far away, but it's up high, which means that, it prevents that light from coming, into my glasses. Same with the one that's over on this side. So you can see right here how high this actual camera is. There's a light actually higher than the camera itself. So in that particular case, that one has a beauty dish on it. And then when that light comes, like I can try to get that one in my glasses and I'm not going to. This one, if I try, I can probably get it in there. But when it comes to the monitor, totally different problem. So the monitor, if you have a bunch of light colored things on your monitor, then in that case, it's gonna, get into your glasses. In my case, the monitor that I use, you can see right here, it actually tilts down. So instead of having a flat monitor that's looking me right in my face and then having a camera coming down this way to where all you see is monitor and my glasses, the monitor that I got, and this is a Dell monitor, it's touchscreen as well. It's just like a phone, which is cool. But with the monitor, I lay it back. And by laying it back, then I'm looking directly over top, flat. And then as long as I'm not tilting my head down too much, then you usually don't see that. But in some cases, I have notes that I need to look at, like when we first started the stream, as an example, I was looking at the notes a lot. And I'm just animated in general a lot. So, I'll be kind of all over the place sometimes. And because of that, in order to cut down on the reflections, one of the things that I'll do is there's a plugin that I use called dark mode. And when I turn dark mode on, it turns everything dark mode. It's not on right now, but you might be able to see. Let me kind of tilt my head down here and get some of this in my glasses. And I'm going to turn dark mode on like right now. So I don't know if you noticed that in my glasses or not, but that extension dark mode, I don't know if you can see that, it's subtle, but dark mode removes all, not all, but a lot of like the bright white off of my screen. And that allows for less, less to be hitting my glasses. Great question. Let's see here. Is it true short views don't count towards 4,000 hours to get monetized? That is correct. Because, the views are coming from the short shelf. So because of that, you need to hit, if you're trying to do it with just shorts, then you have to get 10 million shorts views within a 90-day period and 1,000 subscribers. How do you do a countdown timer on your YouTube channel event? So if it is a premiere, then YouTube will have a countdown timer by itself. If it is a live stream that you're doing and you're starting your live stream with that countdown timer, for YouTube, I'm going to be just straight up with you. Of course, do whatever you like, but I wouldn't use a countdown timer on YouTube, because when people are watching that on their replay, those people aren't going to sit through a countdown timer. So because of that, I recommend if you're streaming to YouTube that you don't use one, but it can be appropriate for other places like Facebook. However, you can get countdown timers like all over the internet, and I think StreamYard even has some that you can get from them that are for free. Let's see here. If it doesn't count, I wonder why there are channels that consistently stream. I'm not sure what that is about, but in terms of streams counting, stream time does count towards watch hours. It's just the shorts the shorts don't on the short shelf. But for live streams, they definitely count towards watch hours, and you can stack up watch hours very, very fast as a live streamer. Like in some cases, I've had live streams where like I'll hit like monetization requirements in like one live stream. So like live streams can definitely do it. Let's see here. Do you think that live streaming on a craft channel can work? Absolutely. Without question. Live streams on any, I won't say any channels because there's so many varieties of channels out there, but live streams on most types of content, work. The thing when it comes to live streams is, one, you have to be doing something that adds value of some kind. That can be entertainment. It can be where you're teaching people things like I do. It can be like in your case where you're either teaching people things or you're doing a craft with me stream, which is extremely popular on YouTube. So when it comes to the craft with me streams, what you do there is it's more like a hangout. Like, hey, we're all working on this, and you sit there and you kind of chat it up just like you're hanging out with a bunch of buddies, and you tell stories, all this stuff while you're sitting there doing the thing, and you're also giving people insights on how you're doing what it is that you're doing. So that's like a really normal and common thing on YouTube. So I would definitely look into craft with me streams. But yeah, absolutely. Like for example, I was watching a guy today. YouTube recommended this video to me of this guy. He was mastering a song, and he was just basically going through the whole process, like a 34-minute video. And I just started it, and there was no editing. It was just like, hey, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So he might have done it live. I didn't look, but he might have done it live. It's kind of what it felt like. No editing, anything. It was just him going through and just showing his process. But watching other people do that process is so interesting to me because, one, I'm trying to learn how to do it better. But two, just, there's so many different things you can learn when you just watch other people do stuff. So because of that, for me, I'm like, I was glued to this thing, and it was just this person just with an unedited piece of content that they put up on YouTube. So yeah, without question, you can do those streams. During your live streams, are you alone in the room? Online moderators to help. So yeah, typically I have online moderators to help. These streams, I don't, but when it comes to the streams that I do on my channel, I have moderators that, help because those can, get a lot of viewership. So because of that, we try to keep those as clean as we possibly can. And these, because of the amount of people that we have in here, I can usually, keep everything, under control pretty good, just on my own. But, in terms of me being alone in the room, in most cases, yeah, every now and then, because, my girlfriend and I live together. So every now and then, like she'll come in and she'll like sit down, her and like the dog will come sit down in here and just kind of like hang out and listen or whatever for a little bit. And then she'll go back out. But typically I'm alone. How many live streams do you recommend to do per week for just starting out? I already got post shorts daily and long form once a week. So work it in a comfortable way, because like one of the things that's going to happen is like when you live stream, like if you're doing something like interesting, like what it is that you're doing with like showing your rabbits, in that particular case, like there's some channels, and you might even want to experiment with this and just see how people respond to it. There's some channels where they'll put up like a camera, and they'll put it in like on their animal, and it'll be like a good shot, everything's like looks good and all of that. They'll have some light going in there and all that so that, everybody can see everything. But they'll put the cameras on the animals, and they'll just leave it running 24 hours a day. So there's services that you can use for that, to where, basically you do the stream through their server. It's cost like $50 a month, but basically you do the stream through their server. You can use it, with StreamYard as well if you wanted to. But basically by doing that stream through their server, they just ensure that everything stays online, because it's a hosting company, that everything stays online 24/7. And what happens there is it allows you to be able to just keep that stream running. So if anybody's looking for like, hey, live stream about rabbits, then you end up showing up. And then if enough people come in and they find the rabbits interesting, then YouTube will actually start recommending it to people that are watching those types of live streams and stuff. but some people like massively grow their channels by doing that. But you have those types of streams, but then in addition to that, you can just have a, rabbit Q&A stream that you do once a week, to where you do that, or you can make it more of an event where, you reserve a day of the month and you promote it all month, let people know that it's coming, and then come and hang out and, talk to you and your rabbits, during those, streams. I was having problems in StreamYard. Live chat wasn't showing. Couldn't figure out any ideas what it could be. One, I would just make sure that, the screen, resolution is right in terms of like right now I've got like 3 things crammed right here on my screen. I can still see the chat. So I'm not sure really what would cause that unless it got really thin. Let me see here. Yeah, even thin there. So here, I'm actually going to show you my interface really quick and just kind of show you this. So I can actually close these now because I'm not using them anymore. Let's move that out of the way and open this. And I'm going to show you on this screen here, share screen. Okay. So when we're going to the tunnel, woo! So when it comes to comments on StreamYard, and I'll see if I can make it happen right now. But like if you have everything like real small like this, then in that case, no, they'll still come up. Okay, I was thinking maybe it would hide them because sometimes it'll go into like a tablet mode type of thing on the responsiveness. But basically right up here in the top right-hand corner, and I'm not sure based on your view here on YouTube exactly what this is gonna look like, but I'm just gonna draw an arrow to it just to make it easy. Right up here, you hit that button and then the comment should show up once you hit that button. So you can see here, I'm just clicking that and it causes the comments to pop out, and then I close it again to close. One thing that I do, because I'm a big fan of, just making sure that in the event that there's a tech problem, that I'm, in the clear, I do this on every stream, is if you, let me pull up, let me turn that one down. And let me pull this one up. One thing that I personally do, just so that I can have a fallback, is I will do this to where I have my StreamYard open over here and then the StreamYard chat here so I can pin stuff to the screen and all that like your comment is right now. And then I have the YouTube chat open as well over here. So that way I have this that I can, just occasionally check, make sure everything's going. But then I also use this as a way to where like right now I'm going through these Q&As, right? So since I'm going through the Q&A, then what I'll do is I'll use this over here to make sure that I have, everything pinned. And then I will use this just to kind of keep track of any, comments that might be coming in. And I'll just kind of look over here occasionally to see if I notice anything there. So then that way I have the YouTube live as a fallback, just in the event something's not coming through somewhere or whatever. Because in my case, and I know everybody's different when it comes to this, but in my case, personally, my priority when I'm streaming is like what's happening on YouTube. Even if I'm multicasting, it's like what's happening on YouTube is my thing. Let's see here. Can you let me into your Facebook group? I'm a member on your channel and it's been a couple weeks since I requested. Yep, I will check it here as soon as the stream's over, but I actually, do me a favor and request again because it's possible. Yeah, because I don't see any member requests. It's possible it got denied. Make sure that you are connected because tomorrow is our D-Day, so to speak, when it comes to the Facebook group. So basically anybody that wasn't connected to Members Amp, so if you just go to membersamp.com/Nick Nimmin, then that will take you in, just connect over there and make sure you're connected there. Because if you requested within the last couple of weeks, but you didn't connect to Members Amp, then in that case, you probably wouldn't have been let in because I use Members Amp to verify that people are members, and then I let them in that way. So so that could have been that issue. So if you can just resubmit now that I see here that you have, I see your channel name and stuff. If you can just resubmit, that I can just let you in as soon as the stream is completed. When I'm live streaming, I get a bot that makes comments that I cannot delete or time out. Any advice on this problem? So the only bot that would be doing that would be a bot that you assign. So like, for example, if you're using one of the chat bots that are out there, then, those can do that sort of thing because they actually have access to your YouTube account and they are posting on the behalf of your YouTube account. So what I recommend that you do is you go into your Google settings and for your Google account, or go into your advanced settings for your YouTube account, and that will end up leading you into your Google account. Make sure you look at the permissions and all the different websites and apps and everything that have permissions to your YouTube channel, and delete anything that might be that particular bot that you're trying to get rid of. If it's something that's coming in as a user, you can get rid of that. You just have to click on the three-dot menu over on the right-hand side, and then over there you have the option to hide user on this channel, put user in timeout. So you just want to hide them on your channel. Another thing that might have happened is you might have accidentally made that person or that bot a moderator. And if you did that, then you're basically giving it permission to make those posts. You would still be able to delete it though. But you could go into your YouTube settings as well, go into your community area of your YouTube settings, and make sure that nothing weird has access. Moon over Miami, what's going on? How do you insert the GIFs? So I just made the GIF itself, and then I just uploaded it in StreamYard. I uploaded it into the overlay area. Is streaming at night a bad idea? It depends. It's at night where I live right now, and it's fine because over in the US, which is my primary target market, everybody's like just getting up over there and getting moving, and I think it's like noon. Yeah, it's a little past noon Eastern. So because of that, it's fine for me. But like even when I'm in the States, sometimes I'll stream at nighttime, and it's fine. Like you just have to look in your YouTube analytics. They'll show you when your viewers are online. So you just want to stream when they're online. Let's see here. So my camera sometimes flickers when I'm on a live stream. I'm a crafting channel. Why is this happening? So it could be the signal between your camera and your computer. It could be your internet wouldn't necessarily cause your camera to flicker. So it could be that you have some of your settings in automatic, and it's trying to compensate for something, or it's trying to make some type of change, while you're live streaming, or it's making some type of an adjustment, while you're streaming. So just make sure that you are dialing everything in manually, and that you're turning off any automatic settings outside of focus. Like if you're a channel, because you're doing crafts. So since you're doing crafts, it's likely that, you might be like showing stuff to the camera, and you're going to need that autofocus. So because of that, leave on autofocus, but all of the other settings, white balance, exposure, your aperture setting, like make sure you're dialing everything in manually. So if you're using a DSLR, make sure that you do have it in a manual setting instead of like program mode or something like that as well. How do people add sound effects during their live streams, like hand clapping, horns, etc.? So there's a few different ways you can do this. The very first is, let me share the screen here. Well, yeah, I'll just do it here. That's fine. So that would be, we'll just go to entire screen. We'll just go here. So when it comes to sound effects, I'm going to take your comment off of here just so you can see everything clearly. But the very first place that you can do this is directly in StreamYard. If you go to the brand area, then right down here where it says background music, you can add individual sound effects right down here by just hitting the plus icon. It's kind of being covered right now by this sharing my screen notification. Here, I'll just hide it. There we go. So here you can, where it says add music, instead of it being music, it would just be a sound effect. And then you can just click on it, and then it'll trigger it, and then you're good to go. Just make sure that you have loop turned off, so that it doesn't just keep playing over and over again. And then you can use this to adjust the volume. So that's the way to do it inside of StreamYard. Another way that people do it, like me, is like, for example,
if you're enjoying the show, remember to give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend right now.
Right, so I've got those. I've got
next question.
What's up, people?
All those things. So for me, I use this device right here. It's called a Rodecaster Pro. And this, you can see these sound pads here. This is an older one. They have a new, like, updated version where you can like quickly switch through everything and all that. But with this one, I have these sound pads, and then I have to go into the menu to actually switch through, different pads. But people do it this way as like a hardware solution. Another way that you can do it is through apps. So you can use, I know there used to be one called like Boss Jock, but they changed the name and I can't ever remember what the name of it is. But they have like, some apps that you can use that are sound boards, which is what you'd want to look for. And then you can upload like individual sounds into there. But here's the thing, you got to make sure that the soundboards that you're using or the sound effects that you're using, make sure that you are getting stuff that you don't have to worry about like any copyright headaches. Because when it comes to live streaming or making video content, like you can't just play anything that you want on these platforms. You have to make sure that you have the rights to play it. If you don't, then you can run into like copyright problems. So just be careful. Let's see here. Hey, my pleasure, mini scenes. Let's see here. Also, just as a heads up, let's see here for the farm channel. I haven't seen you pop up over here yet. I'm keeping an eye out for your thing for the group there. Oh, there it is, I think. Yep, gotcha. Okay, you're in. Let's see here. So next up, I'm just kind of scrolling down, going to answer a few more here. Sunglasses indoors. Okay, I think we are good there. How to remove the StreamYard free logo. So if you're talking about the powered by, that's part of being a free user. So if you want to remove that, then the way that you do that is by becoming a paid user. And then once you become a paid user, you can go into the brand area and then you can just click on the logo and it'll turn off. So like, for example, if I click on this right now, then it just turns off. Let's see here. There was a question that came in. You're in the group now. That got the Goth Farmer. So you're in the group now. There's a post pinned at the top that has the information about that. Purgatory Paranormal says, I noticed that if I put up a video /short and it gets great views and then I go live, the views on the video just stop. Do you notice this happening? So in the past, I noticed that happening. I could literally like take the real-time stats of like a, performing video, the most recent performing video. And then I would go live and I could see like right in the real time, like I went live here and then I can see that viewership drop. It doesn't happen anymore, but I could overlay the screenshots and it'd be like, I went live here and this one took the hit, but it doesn't happen anymore. What might be happening is depending on, the content that you're putting out, so when you go live, YouTube prioritizes that live content for your viewers, right? Because it's basically like, hey, everybody, this person's live. So here's the thing, it's a live event. So go and join. So when you're live, the system prioritizes that live stream. So what can happen is while you're live, you might notice, some of the videos, just aren't getting as much activity. And it's because if YouTube was promoting those in rotation or just showing those to more people in rotation, that moment that you're live, it just like took that priority. But the second you turn that live button off, then everything should go back to normal. That's what would happen to me. So basically, like I would see that drop while I was live, but then as soon as I hit the end button, then like it wasn't immediately, but like right after that, like that next line that came up, it would come right back to normal. Let's see here. Can you do reaction videos on a live stream and have that video play to videos already on YouTube or TikTok without getting a copyright strike? If you do it properly, yes. Like there's something called fair use. It's not a law. It's more of a defense of the law. But you got to be really careful because if you think something's fair use, but you're not willing to defend it in court in terms of your confidence, then in that case, people can press legal charges. They can come after your stuff if you use, things that you don't have permission to use. Let's see here. How can I improve to get subscribers? This is from Sikander Khan T Official. So when it comes to getting subscribers on your YouTube channel, the thing that you have to make sure that you're thinking about is like, what are you offering in exchange for that subscribe, right? Some people will start YouTube channels and they'll just want to like, they'll just be like, hey, I have a YouTube channel, therefore people should be subscribing to my channel. But in reality, it's an exchange, right? So if people are interacting with your content and they're enjoying it or they're getting some type of value from it, then they're going to subscribe because they're going to want more like that. But if people are like interacting with the content and they are not like, they're just not getting anything out of it or, they don't deem it as good in their brains, then they're not going to subscribe because they don't want to see more of that content. So what you got to think about is okay, why would somebody subscribe to my YouTube channel? And think about that. Like what, like why? Like if somebody that's never interacted with your content before, even if they don't know you, right? They don't know you, they've never interacted with your content before. If you were to see your content as a stranger that wasn't familiar with it, would you subscribe to your channel, right? Would you think that what it is that you're doing is awesome and adds tons of value to the viewer? If so, then in that case, it's just a matter of time. But if you're like, well, I don't know, probably not. I could probably do better. Then in that case, work on that value. Let's see here. So let's go. So with Joanne Banco says, I was on a live today and they had a window before you could comment and you had to basically agree to be polite. Have you seen this and how do you add it? So on YouTube, yes, we have something, it's called channel guidelines. So in order to find channel guidelines, if you have the feature, you'll find it by going into your Creator Studio on a computer. Down on the bottom left-hand side, you're going to see a little icon for settings. It's like a little gear icon. Click on that. Once you click on that, it's going to open up this like dialog box. From there, I think that's in community, under the community area there. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to confirm here on the StreamYard channel. And once you're in that community area, then it should be somewhere near the top, I believe. Give me 1 second. It's either under community. Yeah, right there, channel guidelines. So yeah, it's under community. So so all you have to do here, I'm just going to show you this really quick. Let me go to entire screen. So just kind of take you through that process again really quick. You go into your settings, which is right down here on the bottom. And then once you go there, you're going to click on community, and then over here, you click on guidelines, and then you fill out these guidelines here. All right. On that note, I want to thank everybody for hanging out here. If you are somebody that live streams to YouTube, make sure you click into this playlist right here. We have an entire series on live streaming to YouTube where you will learn a ton. You can go ahead and click into that now. For everybody that's live, thanks for hanging out. Have a great rest of your week. I will be here the last Tuesday of every month. So make sure you swing back in if you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.